To paint in some dirt here at the front, we're going to need to add a couple new layers. So let's go over to the vehicle, texture set. And I think before I do the dirt, I better do the touch up right down here, this piece and that piece over here. So let's begin with that. Since I'm going to be painting on the vehicle part, I'm going to go down to the vehicle layer right here. I'll select it, and when I add a new layer here, so we've already created a group, we've created a fill layer. Now I'm just going to create a normal paint layer, and it'll pop up right on top of that vehicle, right there. Now let's call this touch up, just so we know what it is. And then we're going to add the dirt on top of that. So you can see here in the properties of the paint layer, we've got a material and a paint stroke. For the material, I'm going to come down here and change that color right here, that base color. And I want to make it the same color as this right here, that main vehicle tan color. So I'm just going to click here, click and hold on the eyedropper. I'm just going to come over here and sample that color right there. Now we've got it to the color that we want. We've got just a basic brush here. In fact, if we go over to the brushes shelf right here, now we can see a list of all our brushes. And there's quite a bit here, but I don't really need anything else except this right here. That's what this is, I believe. So let's just come over here and begin painting. Now the paintbrush is way too big. We can use the slider here to increase or decrease the size of the brush, or we can also press Control and scroll the mouse wheel here too. I'm using a mouse for this simply because it's just very basic stuff. I'm not doing anything with a lot of detail. If you are going to do something with a whole lot of detail, a graphics tablet is a really great investment, a pen and tablet for this kind of thing. But for this course, for these few things, I'm just going with the mouse. So I'm going to control and scroll the mouse wheel so we get maybe a paintbrush about this size here. We've got the stroke opacity at 100, the flow at 100. So I'm just going to click and drag and paint this part right in here. Just clean this up a bit. And right over here. Now you may be able to see that as I paint, we might get some display strangeness here going on. We'll see that here in a minute. And what that is just because we're recording video at the same time that I'm trying to do this. This is very memory intensive. And so you may see a few issues. Well, like here, you can see white coming out here, white here. So as we do this, oh, and over here, right? So those aren't real. Those are just display errors. If I come over here and hide the layer and then enable it again, it goes away. So it's just an issue with my computer, not really the software. And as I said, the main reason is because I'm recording as I'm trying to do this. So all right, so let's go ahead and paint this in here. Get this all done. Now what I'd like to do is paint a bit more dirt here on the front of the vehicle. I feel like since the vehicle's going forward, it's going to hit dirt more up here on the front than it is back here. And since we have this much dirt here, we need probably at least this much up here on the front. So, having said that, let's go ahead and create a new paint layer. I'll click here, and let's call this dirt. There we go. Now, I want a different color here. I'd like this color here that we used for the dirt generator. So, once again, I'm going to click here, click and hold on the eyedropper and sample this color right here. Now what we should do is find a different brush. This brush is pretty plain. We've got Dirt 1, Dirt 2, Dirt 3, Dirt Splash. We've got quite a bit of dirt here, so well, let's just begin with Dirt 1 and see what happens. Here's the size of the brush. That's not bad. Maybe I'll bring it down just a little bit like this. All right. And I've got it still at 100% opacity and flow, and I'm going to leave it there for now. And then when we've done some painting, I can maybe play with the opacity over here of the layer itself. So let's give this a try. Just going to click and add some dirt right along here. And there's those display errors I was talking about. So my apologies there. That's really just because I'm recording video while I'm doing this. It actually doesn't usually do that when I'm just working without recording here. So let's I'm just clicking around here to add some dirt, maybe along here, along the bumper, maybe some underneath here. Probably be a good idea to get some down here on the shock absorbers and on the axle down in here. So just playing around, trying to put some kind of random splotches along here. And to see how it looks, I'm going to have to go ahead and turn off that layer and then turn it back on again. And there we go. So you can see what I'm doing there. All right, so I've got a bit of dirt in there. What I can do is if I think it's too much, I can come over here to the opacity of the dirt layer and kind of bring that down some, fade it out, fade it in a bit, kind of like that. We could do that. Maybe I'll add a little bit more in there. And if you want, you can come back into here and add some in the tire wells. Maybe we want a bit of dirt here where they're climbing into the vehicle in and out. Maybe they get dirt from their boots on these things here as they're going in and out. So we could maybe put some right down there. And remember that this was mirrored over, so it should come over here as well, right? So we could do that if you want. Let me hide and re-enable that. There we go. If we're getting dirt when it's going forward on the front part, maybe we'd also get dirt on the rear view mirrors here too. Let's try that. Maybe let me shrink that down, control, scroll the mouse wheel. Maybe let's try another kind of dirt brush. Maybe something like this. And let's try this. Let me scroll down and I'm just going to click and drop some on this. And maybe here too. Something like that. And maybe a little bit along here. There we go. Okay, let me turn this off and on again. Now, I got a little dirt from the rear view mirror onto here. It kind of went through to there, and that's probably fine. But if you wanted to remove this, you could come over here to the erase brush, click on that, and here we go. We can control, scroll, and click and erase that, right? Let's bring that back. So you can use the erase brush to pull things off if you want. Now, you can also change the brush for the erase tool. And so you could come over here and begin pulling some out with a different kind of brush here too, right? So you could do a little bit of erasing and kind of erase some splotches, but with splotches, right? You could try that, like that. And also, I think I'd like to get a little bit of dirt on the mud flaps too, since the back tires are probably going to be spitting up dirt onto these things. Let's add some dirt there as well. So let's scroll up to where the mud flaps are, because I want to put the dirt just right on top of the mud flaps. So let's add a new paint layer here. Let's call this one dirt as well. And I kind of like those splotches that we just had. Let's switch back to the brush tool and go to the splotches and be sure we're on dirt 3 here. All right, so now what let's do is go ahead and add some of these splotches in here like this. There we go. Did we mirror that over? No, I think this is, yeah, this is its own piece here. We didn't mirror that over. So maybe I'll add some splotches here, and I'm going to hit the F key to frame up the entire thing. Let me come back in here and add a few more here. Now I'm going to take the opacity of this layer here and bring it down some. So it isn't quite so prominent there. There we go. All right, so now we've got mud on the mud flaps and on the front. So I may play with the opacity a little more for the front, maybe add a little bit of dirt under the wheel wells and things like that. But generally speaking, I think that's really kind of all I wanted. Just adding a little bit of visual interest up there to the front as well. All right. I think we're, well, ready to begin exporting our textures out of Substance Painter so we can begin bringing them into Unity. So in the next video, we'll begin working on exporting our textures.